We're officially recording, kids.
Get away.
Mine, I hear the TV, so we're probably fine.
Yeah, they just, they're hungry little babies. And it's okay. They're growing and that's fine. And
You want some chickens?
I was thinking like maybe we'll come get some birds, but also I don't know how to cook a whole bird. I do. That's a lie. I just am scared too.
I can help break it down. That's not hard.
Okay. Can you see me? Because I 100% do not see you anymore. It's just your thing.
Weird. I see you.
Okay. I'm sure it's fine. If you see me, if you see us double, oh, you know what? Because you're recording, it's probably you're seeing it, both of us. And since I'm on the phone, that may be why.
Okay.
So we're good. Like it's gonna be fine.
You're just gonna see a gray spot instead of my face while we talk.
Well, it's like, oh yeah, I'll just stare at I won't be able to see your expressions, but that's okay.
You'll get to watch it later.
Yay. Well, I'm seeing if I have to edit anything out. Okay. I feel like they're about to come in here again.
You're like, I can sense it. The mom's spidey senses are tingling.
Yeah, they're working in the hallway like weirdos. I love them so much. They are 100% why I want to have these hard conversations with other people, because I think that if enough of us get together and shake the stuff we were taught, shake the trash out and get to the good stuff, then we'll have a whole generation of kids who aren't raised by neurotic weirdos.
Hopefully.
I sure am neurotic and I am a weirdo, but there are areas of importance that I would not like to ruin my children. So I'm gonna be cautious with how I don't care. So we're part of a co-op and I really do enjoy our co-op. Like truly. Oh, we're back with She Talks a Lot episode. I don't know. Yeah. And we're gonna talk about purity culture today. So we are part of a co-op out here where we live, and it is a Christian co-op, which is fine because we're Christians. So that was kind of the
Jesus.
It's kind of the reason why we chose that one. Not that I'm against. My kids go to a hybrid school that is secular in nature, and like there are children who are very un-Christ-like at that school, and so I find that it is important to have both of those in your life so that you don't live in a bubble.
Yeah.
And that is my personal conviction for myself and my kids and their faith walk. That is not everyone else's personal conviction, so I understand that. But we are in this co-op that was created in I think the 90s, which is when a lot of poorly done evangelical stuff came out, which is we'll talk about in a minute. And we got invited to an event through the co-op. It's a swimming party. Okay, like good. They're really hard on dress code, which my daughter at the time that we joined was 6, and it was summer, like the fall semester, so it was warm. Like we live in Texas, so it's 90 degrees sometimes in
October.
Yeah, well, this was spring, so it was like October. It was like April, and it was everyone was in shorts because the AC wasn't working great in the building, and I remember kids' clothes tend to not be like immodest, but my daughter had hit a growth spurt. Her clothes fit around her waist, but they were a little short. And that happened to a lot of other kids, and we're homeschooled, so we're all pretty much one income. And they had us, they had all of the women, all of us, moms, kids, female toddlers, like everyone with a vagina had to stand up and measure their shorts at lunch.
Are you serious?
100%. So my daughter at this time is 6, and she is already anxious to go, and she already doesn't like lunch. And it wasn't just her, and it wasn't just me, but it was the whole co-op. And they had everyone measure their shorts. And I'm like, I'm 33. Like, I dress appropriately. Like, I'm not dressed like a hoe.
You're not Daisy Dukes.
Like, I don't have like my boobs showing. I don't have my freaking butt cheeks hanging out. Like, I dress appropriately. My daughter's in little girl, like, athletic shorts with little like, the little ones that are, like, wind pant material, and then they have, like, kind of the bike short underneath, but they were still
Yeah.
short. And so they came to, like, here on her, like,
Yeah.
her first knuckle or whatever. And so the director, like, looked around and was like, "Okay, if your shorts don't touch your fingertip or if your fingertips are longer than your shorts, you need to quit wearing these shorts. Not quit wearing these shorts, you need to quit wearing these shorts." And I was like, "I think that I don't like that at all."
Yeah.
And so we almost didn't go back, and I thought, "You know what?" 'Cause of I was like, "I need to learn to, like I need to teach my kids sometimes we don't have to agree with rules to participate in something. Like, that's a dumb rule,
Yeah.
and I don't agree with it, but we're gonna respect it because it's a rule that they have had for a long time,
Yep.
and so we'll wear capris, or we'll wear dresses, or we'll wear whatever." And so some mornings, Jason's like, "My shorts are too short." And they'll, like, be, like, right at his fingertips, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"You're" and here's the "Your boy doesn't count." That's what I normally tell him,
Which
and
is stupid
"That's"
too.
he's like, "That's dumb." And I'm like, I'm so grateful that you understand how dumb that is. Like,
Right?
praise the Lord, we're doing something. So, okay, so we do a whole school year. Like, we did fall, and then we just left like, we just ended our spring semester. So now they're having all the summer stuff. And at the last day, they start talking like, "Hey, be sure that if you come to an event, you're in dress code." And I was like, "Okay, whatever. Like, we're not gonna come to the summer events because I don't want to.
Right?
I don't wanna have to wear, like, Bermuda shorts when it's 100 degrees and, like, a sleeved t-shirt. Like, I'm able to wear tank
Cap
tops,
sleeve or whatever.
yeah, I'm able to wear tank tops and, like, my linen shorts that happen to be shorter than my fingertips.
You
So
hussy.
I know, I
Sorry.
know. Well, my daughter just got a ton of clothes, like, a size bigger, and they're still not fingertip length. Like, clothes aren't made that way anymore.
Well, there's
They're
that
just
and, like,
they're not
girls
and
have long legs.
yes, and long arms.
Yeah.
And so they are having this swim party, and I was like, "Let me look. Like, let me see."
One
And
Piece?
dress modestly. It's like, yes, please wear your one pieces. Um, which I'm like, I can genuinely respect that request because some women are more busty and some women like I have big boobs, so being in a bikini is a little bit like of a risky thing if I jump in or a kid jumps on me. Like, and I don't think the teens need to see my boob fall out of my bathing suit.
Yeah, but,
Like,
like, there's 2
I
pieces
can
that have full coverage.
yes. So it's like I can like get on board with that request because church camp, you know,
Yeah.
I'm used to it. They literally in the what's it called? Like the description said, "Male swimmers, please wear shirts when swimming." And I was like, "Goodness, no."
I mean, at least it's a little even, though. At least we're, like, now
But I'm like,
it's dumb. I'm not
"It's
saying
so dumb." So
I'm
I
not
told Jason,
saying
I
it's
was
a
like,
good thing, but I am saying, like, how many times did we go to church camp as kids, and we couldn't wear a tankini that
"Mm,
maybe showed, like, this much of the midriff.
yeah,
I had tankinis that basically overlapped, but that way, at least, like, because like, a one piece, like, it pulls up your butt.
yeah."
And so,
It's
like, if you had a tankini, your bottoms could at least, like, actually cover your cheeks and
yeah.
not you know?
Well, I
That was
told Jason, I was like, "We're not gonna go." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Honestly?" I was like, "They're gonna make you wear a shirt." He was like, "That's stupid." I said, "Well," "Well, God forbid someone see your nipple."
right?
No. And so we kinda had a good conversation, which is why I'm excited for this conversation between us, is that I told both my kids in that moment, I said, "They" and not just the co-op, they, as a lot of people still in the church,
Yeah.
confuse lust with a vision problem when it is a heart problem.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And it's like, if there are teen boys or young boys at the co-op or at the church or at the whatever or the wherever we are who see my 7-year-old in bike shorts and a tank top and have a lustful desire, that
That's
is
them.
1, it's not my daughter's fault.
No.
2, that is on them and that is their struggle that they need to get a grip on. Because my daughter wearing shorts and a tank top did not make them want to, like, it didn't
Yeah.
do, it was a issue in their heart that they let run wild, or maybe they're dressing it and they're like, man, she's cute. Oh my goodness, she's a little kid, like, and I'm a little kid, or whatever. So
Yeah. Like, oh, that's
we were,
crazy.
we were
Like,
able to have, and I don't, and there's a lot of co-ops, like a lot of co-ops that put the word Christian in their co-op have a very similar set of rules. And
yeah,
so, which is why we've continued to stay at this one. So it's like,
it doesn't matter where you go.
it's not, it's the Christian culture
Yeah.
that needs to be like, you need to dress modestly so that you don't make boys less. It's like, that isn't how lust works. That's how a broken culture,
Individual.
yeah, that's how a person is. Like,
Yeah.
and that,
No.
like, I remember getting in trouble in high school in youth group for, like, being out of dress code. And it's like, my shorts are like a half of an inch too
Mm-hmm.
short. And somehow that, like, I am the reason that he is sitting, that's not my, he needs to get his stuff under control.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's a lot of weight for the girls specific.
Oh, for sure. Which is
Oh,
why I said I was kind of surprised and almost glad that they had a rule for the boy, because, like,
and I
growing
looked
up,
at it that way. I hadn't looked at it that way, so I am
I
glad
think
you.
I think it's stupid either way. Like, but like at least, because sometimes I'm like, okay, I get that girls aren't as visual. Maybe.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
don't know if that's even 100% accurate, because
yeah.
what you feed will grow. So
That's
as a woman, if you're feeding visual and you're allowing your thoughts to run rampant, it's gonna happen. But I'm like, dude, I used to call them the make girls dumb lines. So
mm,
like the ab lines that are at the lower part, I call them the make girls stupid line. Like that's what they were. And a
yeah,
shirt covers those.
that's true. See,
It's
and I hadn't
and
really thought, because,
I
sorry.
still think it's dumb. Like
Oh yeah.
a kid shouldn't have to wear a shirt,
And
but
dads too, like the dads, like the all male swimmers. So like little boys. I'm like, my husband is not going to come to this, and y'all are like, we're a family thing. And a lot of the husbands are like, hard pass. You can take our kids swimming with these co-op
right?
people. I'm not going. I'm not wearing a t-shirt. I'm not a 10-year-old at the beach with a mom who's afraid of the sun. Like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
I mean, my boys wear shirts, but not all of my boys. A few of my boys who have my skin that
Yeah.
like I instantly lobster. I'm
Yes.
like, if we're gonna be out in the sun for a long time, you're not just wearing a shirt, you're wearing one of the long sleeves. I'm really sorry, but if you
Yeah.
want to swim for 6 hours, it's
Protect.
that
Yeah.
or nothing. Uh,
It's like this.
because like I'll let them have part of the day without it on, but I'm like, if we're in the heat of the day,
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm like, but that's because I don't want to put sunscreen on you because I don't like sunscreen. And I don't want you to be bright red when we get home.
And
Like,
sure, it hurts to be sunburned, so I get it. Well,
yeah.
like, if this was a daytime swim party, I wouldn't have questioned anything. This is a nighttime swim party.
Yep, that my kids wouldn't my kids
I'm like,
nighttime at my parents' house, we're lucky if they have any clothes on.
I know, right? Like, please just cover the
Yeah.
underwear area. Well, and, like, I've had to talk to my kids about like the whole bathing suit area,
Mhm.
and Jason and I were talking one time, and he's like, "Why is Sissy's bathing suit area different from mine?" Like, if someone, well, and then he kind of like posed a good question where it's like, because boys' shorts, above the knees on average, that's kind of the
Yeah.
bathing suit meant for them, and then their privates. And he's like, Sissy's is basically just her butt, sometimes her stomach, and like her nipples because she's little and doesn't have boobs.
Right, yeah.
And I started thinking, like, he's pretty spot on. Like, if we go by that standard, anyone can rub her back and his stomach and his chest, but not his thighs or his butt or his penis. And anyone can rub her thighs, her midsection, her back, her shoulders, her
Yeah.
neck. But like, it kind of was this whole thing where I'm like, nobody should really be like touching you in a way that makes you uncomfortable,
Well, period.
regardless of where it's at. Like,
Yeah.
if above the knee, makes you uncomfortable, like, if we tickle her and she says stop, we like hands off.
Yep.
And same reason, like, it's like our hands go up because I'm like, that was very like, you asked us to stop, and we want to set the example of like when someone says stop, it's
We
a hard,
instant.
yeah, we don't like keep going because we're,
I think it's
almost done.
funny. I had a aunt and uncle who liked to. I thought of it as torture because like they would just tickle and tickle, and I didn't like being tickled at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
And I have this vivid memory of them turning all of the car vents onto me. I don't like being cold or having air blown on me. I had
Mm.
to pee real bad, and they kept tickling me.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, "Stop!" I like there was no like it was one of those like I can't like stop and and yeah, so like I do not
That's
like being
awful.
touched.
I Yeah, we unfortunately had a a peer, I guess would be a good way to word that. I almost said classmate, but it wasn't a classmate. A peer who would give the kids candy and rub their back, and I was like, "That makes me uncomfortable, like, big
That's
time."
weird.
Uh-huh, and so, like, he always for a while, we had a couch in our garage because it was a vintage couch, and I wanted to find a place for it, and I just anyways. And then it ended up becoming, like, the neighborhood couch where the kids from the neighborhood would, like, come
Yeah.
sit on the couch and chat in the shade when it was hot. Because we moved in the summer, so it kinda
Yeah.
hung out for a while. And, he would, like, do that, and then when I started sitting out in the garage or, like, doing yard work and was more present around, he, would be like, "Let's go to my house and jump on my trampoline." And I was like, "No, let's not."
No, thanks.
So I had to text his mom. It's like, "Hey, can we chat for a minute?" And it was probably one of the most uncomfortable conversations I've ever had because he tried to stand there the whole time. She's like, "You need to go away. Like, this conversation's about you, and you need to go away." Um, and so it was like, it made me unable to say, like, "That's freaking creepy,"
Yeah.
because he was lurking, and I didn't want him to think that I thought poorly of him because I don't. I think that there is something that he learned,
Yep.
and he doesn't mind it, um,
Yep.
or he does, and he hates it, and he doesn't know how to tell someone it's happening to him. So,
Yeah. No, yeah,
it's a very
I think it's another thing that I don't know, I can't say what my parents did or did not address to other families, but like having those hard conversations with other parents is so important for our kids. It sounds weird to say kids sexuality, but for our kids sexuality and for their safety and like in setting those boundaries. Because like if I I had now granted my parents didn't know about it because I didn't tell them
yeah.
because I was a freshman in high school when it happened, and I I hope I would be in tuned enough to like realize my kid changed personality somewhat. 'Cause I know I changed
Yeah.
after it happened. But I had a guy that I had a crush on for 2 years
Mhm.
shove his tongue down my throat in
Okay.
a like church like a Sunday school classroom. Um and like I was sitting on a cabinet, like on a counter, and there were cabinets behind my head. And
Mm.
he was like, "Can I tell you a secret?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he leaned in and he like, I mean, just went for it. And that was my first real any like I had like, the kindergarten kiss
Oh, yeah.
and like the like 3rd, 4th grade, um, brothers locked us in a closet and they
Yeah.
kept we're like, we kiss, like let us out. And they
Yeah.
didn't believe us. And so he finally like leaned in and pecked. I mean, it was like I'm the most innocent of pecks. And I pushed him off and they could tell in the panic of our voices after that that like we had kissed and they finally let us out of the closet. But like,
Yes.
and so but this other one, like it was a full on and like I was doing mending the soul and it was like penetration of the mouth or this is considered and I was like, oh, that was a more severe like that's why I had such a physiological response.
Yeah.
Because like an oral penetration, it's not I don't think it's the same, but they're like, it's considered assault in the same
Mhm.
way as other things are considered assault. And
Yeah.
so I had a very intense reaction to it.
Yeah.
Um, and no one did anything. like when I even made my outcry, my youth pastor said, "Girls and guys kiss like that every day, Lauren. It's not that big of a deal." And I was like, that's interesting. I was like, that's interesting because like I also had the conversation in this youth group where, you know, we're a licked Oreo or we're a chewed piece of gum.
That's disgusting. Sorry, I've never heard that analogy.
Oh, you've never heard that analogy? So you
No,
take an Oreo, you split it open, you lick the cream, you put it back together. Who really wants to eat this? Because now it's a tainted Oreo. And when you go and make out with a guy, or you have sex, or you do those things, you're a licked Oreo. Who's gonna want you? Like that kind of stuff.
I wonder why there's so many people who feel like they're worthless.
Right.
I can't figure it out.
And so, like, I had those teachings, but then I also had, Lauren, you need to calm down. Girls and guys kiss like that every day. It's not that big of a deal. I'm like, which is it? Am I a licked Oreo?
He licked my Oreo. I didn't even
right?
know it.
Or is this completely normal and like I should just be making out on the couch with just anyone?
Yeah, like, oh my gosh.
And like I'm like, that was from the same, like it was from the same pastor.
Yeah, it was
and
very
I'm
and
like,
no accountability.
I was like, which is it? And this was the church I had grown up at. My parents had already left, but I was still trying to stay involved in the youth group.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was like, I don't feel safe here.
No.
Because my middle school youth pastor was like, well, you're now in high school, so I can't do anything. The girl intern was like, I'm just an intern, can't do anything. And the high school youth pastor was the one that told me that. And I was like, got it. And he stayed in leadership. And when this story got out and everyone knew what had happened, like 4 other girls came forward about the same guy, and it had been worse with some of the other girls. Like he had forced more.
Yeah.
And he stayed in leadership.
Yeah.
He was still part of the worship team and all that stuff. And I was like, got it. Like, I'm not safe. You had me sign a card when I was 12, pledging my purity. And I had my little ring. But then when I was violated, I was told it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. And so like for me, like my dad took me on a date and we talked about it. Like, and he gave me a ring. And it was like the True Love Waits ring from James Avery. Yep. And like we went out, and I remember we went to this place called Lincoln Square, which is like
Arlington, yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up back there, and it was like my birthday, like my 13th birthday time frame. And I actually grew up in a house. Now it is now literally across the street, behind like a shopping center across the street from the Cowboy Stadium. And we used to lay on our roof. I say grew up, I lived there for a couple years. We used to lay on our roof and watch fireworks from the Rangers Stadium in the summer. So it was kind of neat.
Books in Lincoln Square?
Yes, there was. Oh, there was this place called Bubba's Bagels, and so that's why we went there. Or they had
my grandparents used to live over there, so like I have
some memories.
Like flashing back to areas over there.
Yeah. So there was a Cold Stone Creamery, which is where he took me. And I like remember the date, but I don't remember the conversation, because growing up, that was not a topic of conversation that we had a lot.
Yeah.
And so when he and I had that conversation, it was awkward for both of us because it was a very unnatural
conversation. Yeah.
And so like I knew, and I don't ever think he told me like that it was worth waiting for, and that like the right husband would be like respectful and that kind of stuff. And it's like he did the right thing. And I think back and it's like he said the right words, because he didn't say like, there's shame attached to you.
Right.
If you said like he said the right husband is like the right man is gonna respect this and hopefully have the same values. And then I got the ring, and I wore the ring all of the time. And so, and then my parents never really pushed like the pledge thing, because like I said, I have relatives who were both
Yeah.
like molested, like, and so like my parents didn't ever really push like our like purity, like okay, let me rephrase that. They wanted us to remain virgins until we were married because they understood
The
the
value.
value. Not that my child is more valuable because they're virgin, but you know, there also was like, don't really talk to your kids about sex because then they're gonna want it and then they're gonna be perverts. Um, kind of ideas that floated around for a while. And
Yeah.
so it's like I think they did a good job because they didn't ever attach any like worth or value
Yeah, I feel
to,
like my parents did decent too.
yeah. And so like my big issue with the purity culture wasn't just like my church, but like the church
As a
that
whole. Yeah.
that kind of all fell under the same idea that let's have them sign this card after an emotional sermon where
Yep.
we have like, so we had a girl named Penny who got pregnant. She had sex and got pregnant like the first time, like this one of those situations. Her parents were in leadership and they used her as an example.
Oh.
And so when they found out she had sex and that she was pregnant, they made her come talk to the youth group about our purity and our virginity. And our analogy was she gave everyone like a blow pop or something. And like halfway through, she's like, hey, like everyone ate them. She's like, you can go ahead and open them and eat them. Like, this is gonna be a short conversation. And about halfway through, she's like, can you guys get the wrappers and put them back on there? And we were like, mm. And so like people were trying, and she's like, no, but like, can you like seal it back up? And I was like, well, no. And she's like, that's your purity. And it's
Yeah.
like, and it's like,
You've unwrapped it. It's broken.
yeah. I look back at it, I'm like, it was good in like a anatomical way.
Yeah.
Like once you've had sex, you're not a virgin. But like your purity doesn't just come from not having sex. And so they did
Your
a bad
hymen, because my hymen was broken before my wedding night, but I didn't have sex before my wedding night.
job. Yeah, like they were like, if you penetrate. It's like I knew girls who didn't have vaginal sex, but they had all the other kinds. And they're like,
And they're like,
I'm saving my vagina for my husband. I'm like,
are
huh?
you?
But like in theory, sure, but also like
In
having sex,
practicality.
it is a practical or technicality, not practicality.
Yeah.
But it's like there was this idea that, oh man, I was gonna say something and then I lost it. Like like your purity isn't just like your sexual reproductive organs. Your purity is like your mind. Like lust doesn't come from your eyes, it comes from your heart. That's a purity issue.
Yep.
Like if you're looking at someone and thinking incredibly sexual thoughts, that's a purity problem. And
Yeah.
and that's something that you need to get hold of because it's gonna affect your marriage.
Yeah.
Like, and they didn't ever talk about that.
Nope.
And they didn't talk about like the whole like pornography. Like porn is a huge industry. There's literally ouch, Christian apps that like help you quit looking at porn.
Oh
It's like,
yeah.
oh, I wonder why so many Christian people look at porn. Because if you look at someone in public, it's like, oh, buddy, you already committed adultery with her. And then also that verse was totally misconstrued because it's like, yes, you did in your heart, but also like that doesn't mean just go like have sex with her.
Yeah.
It
Or that
means
now you're a shameful being that deserves to be smited and
yeah,
outcasted because you're dirty.
yeah. It's like like
Yeah.
the things that I wish I had learned from the purity culture was that your shame or your value and your worth aren't attached to your virginity,
Mm-hmm.
and it's important to remain pure. Like it, there's a importance to it biblically. Like God designed it for marriage, but He didn't design it to be like, okay, it's your wedding night. Like, let me give you all your sexual urges, um, and now you're never gonna have problems because that's a misconception.
Yeah.
It's like this, like the licked Oreo analogy. I can halfway understand why they tried to use that because it's like, yes, like some. But it's not from the person who's getting the Oreos perspective. It's like the Oreo. It's like, I'm forever going to remember the people I had sex with, willingly and unwillingly.
For sure.
Like, and
Yeah.
it's that has caused a problem in our marriage because there are times where, like, I'm with my husband and my brain is in another area, and I'm like, why go away? I don't want to
Yeah.
think about that. And usually it's not a good,
It's
like,
usually trauma based.
yeah, and it's like, God, man, like, I don't want to think about those things anymore. And then, the shame seeps in, and then the regret seeps in, and then the guilt seeps in, and then now the mood's gone, and now my husband and I are in this weird place where it's like, sorry, like, it's
No,
gonna be, because I literally mentally can't even look you in the face for a week.
yeah, no, and that's the thing is like we weren't trained for what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
We were warned from what it could be, but not like I never had a picture painted of like what it could be. There was stuff that like I naturally got from reading the scripture and like my own communion with God. Like my mom wasn't big on like she was about modesty,
Hmm.
but she didn't necessarily push the same things that like the church pushed, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like
No,
she
yeah.
allowed me to dress honestly however I wanted because I was a pretty naturally modest person.
Yeah.
Like I had a couple dresses that I was like, "Mom, it feels really low cut." And she's like, "You're not being provocative. You're not showing off stuff you shouldn't be showing off." Um, she's like, "You're fine." But the church would have been like,
Mm.
because like I had friends who would like I would be wearing a tank top and like I am not busty. I
Yeah.
it wasn't until I got pregnant with my first that I was like, "Oh, hey, these are kind
I
of
have
fun."
boobs.
Because like I mean, and it wasn't until I was 17 or 18. I started praying at like 18, God, make my boobs how my husband will like them, which was a weird prayer.
No, I understand it though.
Because I was at that point, I was trying to relinquish. I had been like a barely an A up to that point. Like I
Okay.
was still relatively flat chested. I mean, I think I was a sophomore in high school, still not having to wear bras if I didn't want to, because I just didn't have
That's
enough.
nuts. That's,
Like, I had someone try to snap my bra in middle school, and they were like, "You don't," and I turned around, I was like, "Does it look like I need one?" And they were like, "Oh no." I was like, it's like, "Don't try to pull on my bra. I don't got one on. I don't need it."
that sounds
Uh,
fun.
so I started praying, make my boobs how my husband would like them. Ironically, I got 2 different sizes
Um,
overnight. I have 2 different, like, and they like, I was just like, "How did that happen?" Like, I had, like, a solid B and then, like, a tiny C happening at one point, and, like, I was like, "Well, this is awkward." Um, but I I was like, "Alright, well, if that's what my husband likes," and ironically, he thinks it's hilarious and awesome, and I'm like, Alright." Um, I'm like, "You just" I'm like, "You just like things being different." Like,
yeah.
it's the same thing of, like, if I go do my hair drastically different, he acts like I'm a new person in ways,
Yeah.
um, which is, I think
Yeah.
part of that we crave variety and different, and then
Hmm.
it's the appetite you feed. And
Yeah.
so if you are fed a buffet all the time and you can choose whatever you want whenever you want,
Yeah.
yeah, of course someone's gonna like gravitate towards that. Um, but like my prayers became, okay, make me the woman my husband wants me to be.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't have a problem with those prayers. I think I was so desperate um to be accepted by a man
Hmm.
that that's where I end up putting my value, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I was taught if you remain a virgin, if all these things, like then your husband's going to honor that and cherish that, which not necessarily true.
Yeah.
Um, because I think there's been times that my virginity and my like purity
Hmm.
has brought shame on my husband
Okay.
because I am the opposite of what he was. And so
Yeah.
then he is bad and I was good.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're oil and water and we're not mixing,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And
And
I
let's just
don't,
say that.
yeah. And not that like, I don't think it has to remain that way. And it's something that we've actively worked on.
Yeah.
But like, he came from a non-church, non-purity culture, and then I was high purity culture. And when he got saved, what he did pick up from the church is your wife is for sex because that's your number one need. And if she's not giving it to you, that's a sinful problem on her end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that basically like she's your plaything is what he like that was in ways what he had earned from the church.
And
And
she needs to submit to you and your authority, and you have authority and power.
uh-huh. And I had picked those up too. And then on top of that, I had like lived this very like, don't be a licked Oreo, stay very pure.
Which
Um,
is such a like dirty, repulsive way to be spoken to.
oh, for sure. And
Like,
I was told that I had a guy reprimand me on my hug one time because I didn't do an A-frame or a side hug. Um, and like literally he was like, he even told me like, how you hugged me, made some things come up in me. And I was like, that's interesting because I remembered that hug because he was talking about a specific one. And I
mhm,
I remember in the hug being like, it's nice to have a brother that I can, because like when I was in YWAM, there were a couple of guys on my team. And there was one guy on my team, but a couple guys within the school that like
mhm,
I could have brotherly affection with and
yeah.
get a big brother bear hug and it be safe. And so this one guy, I was like, we were mid hug and he like called me out on it later. He's like, you're being really provocative in how you go around hugging people and doing all this stuff. And I then went to a friend who was a female and I was like, to like, am I doing something? Like, I don't want to like we were part of a prayer house movement, all this stuff at that point. And she's like, well, you do walk provocatively sometimes. And I was like, What? I liked heels at the time, and you naturally like you can't walk in heels without like some hip swaying because ironically that's why they were made. Like men designed them for a
Oh,
reason,
sure.
right? And she's like, well, you do walk provocatively. And I was like, and so I was 20 at this point, being
Mm,
told that like I'm being provocative. The same person at one point when I was hugging I mean, at that time, not husband, but now husband, goodbye, he then leaned in for an A-frame hug. We neck and shoulders. We didn't touch anywhere else because that would be,
sinful.
yeah. And the guy whispered in my ear, A-frame hug, because I'd given Ian an actual hug.
Full frontal hug.
I know, what a hussy.
Little touched hips. Oh my gosh.
Because clearly that means we're about to just, uh,
Drop trow and go for it, man.
yeah.
What a dumb. Sometimes I think that the Lord like spared me um that kind of stuff because like I know what YWAM is like, and I kind of always wanted to do mission stuff, but
Mhm.
then hearing that I'm like I would literally like get kicked out of the mission field.
Well, and like
I'd be like, you need to go home.
I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like and like you were saying earlier, like that's a him problem. The fact
Mm.
that my hug caused him to like trail
Also,
off,
also gross for him to say something came up when you were hugging me. That's gross and a little bit
right? I
nasty
was
boy.
like, well, I didn't feel anything at that moment, but something popped later. I cannot be held
It's just
responsible.
how like that. Yes, like
That's
you
a
were
him
talking.
problem. And like the other thing, like so Ian not growing up in church culture,
Yeah.
really. He went to the Middle East because his dad was living in the Middle East at the time. He has a
Okay.
stepmom who is Iraqi, and they were living in Qatar
Okay.
and had gone out with, I think it was his stepmom's brother.
Okay. Like his uncle
Um,
type
yeah,
relationship.
step-uncle, whatever. I mean, they went to a mall, and the women in Qatar were, I mean, they're full, like full burqa, like
Hmm.
covered.
Yeah.
And the brother was like, "Oh, she's a like is making all these comments," and he was like, "It has nothing to do with what the woman is wearing," because
Yeah.
she is like, and look at the guy and be like, "How do you know that?" She's like, "Oh, it's how she's walking. She's walking in this way that you." Oh, like, and so
Yeah.
and that's the thing is like, I don't think our culture gets like it's not about like by all means don't walk around with your butt hanging out and your boobs just flopping everywhere.
Yeah.
But, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you are covered from head to toe. If a guy wants to think dirty thoughts about you, he's gonna think dirty thoughts about you.
And also, like, lust isn't just a male problem. Mm.
No.
Lust is a
And
sinful desire for something. And so that also is a term, like, that's a word that we misuse.
oh
Because I don't
god.
really know, like, we went through a program and my husband was like, I don't know how to pray for your sin. Like, 'cause I don't know what it is.
Right.
It's like, well, I have a lot of them. Like, I don't, let's just pick one. And, but he was like, I don't, because he has his own things that are, like, he has control. Like, anyways, they're his. And so
Right.
he knew what to pray for. And so then we went through the same program as like facilitators, which is like leading the conversation type situation. And I remember going through it a second time and I was like, I have a lust issue. And my husband was like, wait, what? Like, what? You're not even like you're asexual. Like if we were to like categorize me, it's
Yeah.
like a for a long time he called me a sex camel because he's like, you could get it like once and then be good for like 2 months. Get one drink of water and then you're fine for the desert.
It's like, that's
Um, but I was like, well, I have because they described lust as a sinful desire for something. I'm like, well, I have like a lust for control, a lust for approval. And I was like listing all these things and having that term lust in front of
yeah.
them made them very like what they are, sinful, gross, like
Yeah.
not how I was designed to be.
Yeah.
And so it's like we use the term lust where it's I don't know,
It's purely
like
sexual.
just yeah, like it's overly sexual. And so um I don't like thinking of my son as like a lustful creature, but he is. And like I've told that before. I'm like, he's like, well, I don't ever look at girls. I'm like, it's not just sex,
It's
buddy. Like it's not just like it's a heart thing. And so we've had those conversations where it's like you covet, but covet doesn't make sense to you. You have
so
a
lust. Yeah.
sinful desire to have this or that or whatever. And he's like, oh, I do. Okay.
That's
And
actually a really great perspective and like way to approach it because one, it removes the shame from the freaking word. Because one, it's
oh,
just a word.
it's dirty because it was made dirty. It was perverted
Yeah.
for like it was perverted to fit a narrative that and there's a lot of things that like happen. And I'm like, why in the 90s all of a sudden in the early 2000s was it like vital for Christians to like indoctrinate their young people and each other to not like have sex outside? Like what shifted? Because I don't
Because we it was the generation that came out of the hippie movement and the free love movement, raising
okay
the next generation.
okay see, and I'm like sitting here thinking like
Where did
where
that
need
so
come from.
you have the moms and if they had kids young, maybe the grandparents who are like trying to over course correct from the hippie free love movement
Yeah, which I
to
mean, yeah, to an
just like
absent movement.
don't like we so messed it up over here, so we got to control it
Yeah,
this way here, so maybe just maybe our kids won't make the same mistakes we made,
yeah.
which is I think most movements. It's
I was gonna say that feels a lot like like we were part of a school when we first moved here. This will make sense. We were part of a school when we first moved here, and it didn't fit for us. It was like
yeah,
university prep. I'm like, my daughter's in kindergarten. We don't. I don't even know if my kid's gonna go to school, like college.
Yeah.
And my son probably isn't. It's just not in his demeanor to love like book learning.
Right.
And so, although this is kind of a waste of our money and our time. So then like over the course of like spending time out here where we're like out in Parker County, it's like this little square. So it's like this radius of anyways. We ended up at a gym, like a gymnastics, rock climbing, not rock climbing, gymnastics ninja gym.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that the school we had originally joined came out of the school that facility had. And the director of the first school we were part of didn't like all the free time that the kids got at the gym.
So they went rigid prep.
Hard to the other side. And I'm like, there's a happy medium somewhere. And we've found the program that works for us. And it's wonderful.
Yeah, I know, and that's
they're gonna
I think that's what that is what we do as a culture and society. And like my husband's always like sex, money, power is like the 3 core motivators.
And there's never enough.
Yeah.
If there's motivators, you don't have enough.
Yeah. And so he's like, that's why the church takes such like hardline stances. That's why tithing is typically such a like driven home thing, or completely avoided, but typically driven home, especially in the bigger churches.
The church where the pastor traveled to other churches and told them all the benefits of tithing.
Oh yeah, I was.
Anyways, that is a whole. I equated tithing with salvation. If you were truly saved, you would tithe. And our church now they talk about tithing every week, but what they do is they show you where the tithe goes. They're very transparent of like, hey, this month we've been sending all of our tithes, like they have the budget and that's it. To whoever wants it. Like the whatever, the gift or whatever, like gifts and tithing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes to, like we had a huge event a couple weeks ago and that's where it went. It went to an outreach event. Yeah. And so, it's neat. And they always say like, we couldn't do this if everyone didn't participate. And I was like, that's the way to go about this.
Yeah. I was brought up in a tradition where it's like, if you don't do it, God's going to take it. And so when your car breaks down.
Oh, yeah.
Or your thing, that's your fault because you didn't tithe. So he's taking it and the mechanic now gets your tithe. And I'm like, well, then that seems a little counterproductive because now you really don't have money.
Yeah. Like, I heard something the other day that was like, tithers are just like, essentially tithers are more blessed, which there is biblical things that say like tithing is a blessing. But this lady was saying, or this pastor was saying, and this lady was like making this really weird short video about it. It was hilarious. That like if you tithe and you get a flat tire and you go to the mechanic and they get a tire, that God, because you have God's money, that you'll get the best tire in there for the best deal. Which I was like, that's not how that works at all.
No, it's not.
And that, the angels go in and it just was
they go before you and prepare the best.
I'm like, it does say that, but I think that it says that in a context that you have shifted to fit your narrative. Again, that is just human nature. You shift or, work a narrative to fit what you're needing it to fit. Yeah. That's like, I understand the purity culture. I understand the value of like why I wish I would have waited, but I didn't really have an option.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing.
I wasn't able to come. Nobody wants to say I'm a licked Oreo. I'm an unwrapped sucker. Right. Like nobody wants to come out and say like I'm the dirty, shameful metaphor that you used and like, but it wasn't my fault. And then also it's like, well, he's in leadership and like that's uncharacteristic of him to, do that, even though there's a trail of women behind him that say like, no, it's
happened to me. Yeah.
Like it is this idea that like, Nobody wants to be like the dirty metaphor. So then we're just like, well, we're already a licked Oreo, so we might as well just like
Go enjoy ourselves a little bit.
go enjoy it because I have like a huge sex drive and a sinful desire because I'm a 16-year-old kid.
Right? Because,
And-
and that's the other thing is like, I you repress, so you have one or two ends of the spectrum, I feel like, in the church. You have like something happened, and so we're just gonna like dive in and go for it. And then you have the like, I'm super repressed because I can't have sexual urges.
mm,
And so either you're just bubbling beneath the surface and you're a thing waiting to pop, or you're so repressed that like once you get married, you're like, I don't know what to do with this.
yeah,
I don't,
this feels
I don't
wrong.
want, yeah. Like, I mean, if we're gonna get real TMI here, it's something we'll probably discuss in another episode fully. When we started having sex, like I was like, well, sex isn't for me. Like I was told that sex was for my husband and that like I'm supposed to be like servicing him. I'm like, what am I, a whore? That was a
Yes,
whole other thing that we had to go through.
fully, fully into
Um,
a
and like
holy.
I could play the Coyote Ugly game. I could be Pretty Woman.
Mm,
I could be the whore, but it wasn't for my own pleasure. It was about his.
yeah, and oh man, yeah, that's.
And then
I'm
like
not,
when I
yeah,
would get to pleasure pockets, I would be like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to feel this way," and I would like physiologically shut down. Like you talked about like trauma stuff coming into your mind. Like I would get to a place of like, "Oh, this is feeling good. This is nice," and then I'd be
yeah,
like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to feel that." And like
yeah,
and for years there was a mix of like either he wasn't paying attention because he was enjoying himself, or he didn't know what to do with it, and so we didn't really like. I didn't know how to do anything with it.
yeah,
And so it like, took us 8 years to finally have the conversation of like, I feel like I'm guilty when I have like pleasure. And he was like, that's so stupid. I'm like, I understand. I get that, like, I can mentally get to the place that this is stupid, but like, I don't know how to break it. I
yeah,
don't know
and
how to get to that place.
yeah, there's a lot of like, and I don't want to say damage. I mean, that is damaging, like for sure. But I think there's like a lot of broken pieces of like our sexuality that we carried into our marriage
Oh, for sure.
that are producing like a lot of damage. Like for you, it was like you shouldn't feel pleasure because
Yeah.
it's sex is for men, which just like ugh, that's so dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Like it was designed for man and woman to enjoy together. Like it is,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'll
Song of
say
Solomon had a lot about her pleasure and that. If
yeah,
you
and
if you read through that kinky poetry in the Bible.
that is. I get so uncomfortable reading that legitimately. Like Jeff's like, you should read that. And I am sometimes like, no.
My
It's
favorite is a
awkward.
guy I started to date in high school, told me that was his favorite book of the Bible. And I'm like, that's not weird at all.
That is so weird. Like I'm sitting here thinking like if someone told me that, I'd be like, bro, that is like that that's weird. Don't tell me that.
Right. And
But
that's just like, and like he thought he was being like super spiritual, yet I think maybe a little like provocative. And I
I
was
was
like,
gonna say he's being like, hey, my favorite book's Song of Solomon.
Yeah, it was funny though, because
That is it.
I also made a comment to him one time that my niece was the best birth control I'd ever been on. And he heard, you're on birth control? And I was like, no, I'm saying that.
Hold on. Are you
Yep.
sick? Okay, hey, this isn't the time. I'm sorry. Are you unwell? Did you hurt your foot? Why don't you go sit down and rest it? Okay, I love you very much. I need you to go. Speaking of birth control.
But I was like, he's like, so you're on birth control? I was like, no, no, no. I just said my niece is the best birth control I've ever been on because I sure as hell not having sex because I don't want one of those. because she
I'm
was
not.
because I was 17 and she was living with us.
Oh, nice.
And so like she lived in the room across the hall from me. So like I heard her wake ups. I heard all of
Mm-mm.
the things. And the thing is, I adore that girl. God, she'll turn 17, ironically,
Oh,
this
that's
year.
kind of funny.
And
Full circle.
so like it hit me. I'm like, oh my gosh, on June 1st, she will have been with me for half of my life. Like I was 17 when she was born.
That's
And
crazy. When you
yeah,
get these kinds of things where it's like, obviously you've known her your whole life, but it's like, I've spent half of my life with her.
yeah.
That's funny.
And
Um,
so I was just like, oh my gosh. And so like, but he got all excited. I'm like, that's kind of a tip off if you're getting excited thinking I'm on birth control, dude. Like,
yeah, that's.
maybe no, I'm good. Like,
I would not like to participate with you anymore.
yeah, this was fun. God, he was hilarious. So again, that like awkward church culture. Some of the guys in church, I am sorry if people are listening to this and they get offended. But like saying things like Song of Solomon is your favorite book of the Bible, or like how they would pursue women.
Mm,
And I think it's the reason was so attracted to Ian because he didn't play the games. He
no,
didn't because he didn't know to play the games.
I was gonna say he wasn't raised in like a, yeah.
Yeah, we don't play the coy things. We don't say, "Oh, you'll just make such a great mother one day," as like the flirt. I had guys. Oh my god, I had guys who would like start to talk to me and then be like, "So I was watching you interact with these kids, and like I can see like how great you're gonna do it, that kind of stuff." Yeah, and I was like, and so I had lots of interesting people. I had lots of interesting people.
So
Um,
last night, that reminded me, sorry, I'm gonna tell this story.
you're good.
Like that, I can imagine you as a mom. We watched a video last night that was like, I don't like when people tell me that they're trying for a baby, like that they're trying to have a kid. He's like, because basically all you're saying to me is I am having unprotected sex and coming
All the
inside
time.
my mother all the time. And it made me think like that's where their brain, like that's where the boy's brain was at. Like
Oh
I
god,
want
yeah.
to be like
I
I
wanna
want
make babies with you.
yeah,
You'll make
and
a
there's
great
such a
mom. I wanna
there's such
make
a
babies with you.
I don't want to have the kid. I don't want to raise the kid. I just want to make the baby.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, no,
chocolates,
seriously.
brownies.
It's mind blowing. So that guy who like got excited about, you know,
Personally.
birth control, um, he had dropped me off at my house and it felt like he was leaning in for a kiss and I like dodged it because this was like second hangout and I was like, I don't know. And and I was like, hey, I really want to slow things down. Like I was finishing up my senior year of high school. He was like a sophomore in college at that point, and I was like, "Hey, I
Ooh,
just maybe a
oh,
freshman. I don't know. Like we weren't that far. Like I was a
sorry,
senior.
my brain
Like yeah, yeah,
flipped.
yeah, yeah." And so I'm like, I just don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, well, it'll be fine." And then like he disappears and had a girlfriend within like I don't know 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So fast forward like 3 years, I am now with Ian, and
Mhm.
we go to catch up because he still wants to be friends, right?
Yeah.
I had moved into my own house at this point, and he asked to come in. I'm like, no, I don't have guys over. It's like
Mhm.
that's not something I do, which was for the most part true.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And I said something about like I'm actually hanging out with this guy. And he was like, "Well, do I remind you of him at all?"
Ew.
And I was like, "Actually, no, like not even a little bit." And he was like, "Oh." And he would tell me like how his girlfriend, like I reminded him of like his girlfriend like so after we stopped talking and he got a girlfriend, like we talked again later and he's like, "My girlfriend like you remind me a lot of my girlfriend." I'm like, "That's a creepy thing to say."
Yeah, and like also, yeah, I don't know. That's like saying I have a type and I base everything off of you.
Yeah, and, like, I really liked you, so, like, I now have this other girl, and I'm like, "That's not actually attractive."
Yeah, I'm
Like
not interested in this, buddy.
And so, but I think that because I had other guys that were a part of that church culture that handled me in similar ways.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like, I'm sitting here thinking, like, because you have all boys, and I
Hmm.
have a girl. And so, like, I'm sitting here thinking, if my son who was growing up in that, it's like, it's also damaging to them.
Oh gosh.
It did create issues for Jeff and I, because he was told, like, hey, if you remain pure, like, it's gonna be fantastic.
I
And
mean, nonstop, mind blowing.
he had his own things that were like everyone else, like purity isn't just about your eyes or your virginity. Like,
Hmm.
that's part of your mind and part of your all the things. And so, like, he's a human, so he sinned. And there was like, we had issues where it's like, well, maybe that's and it's like, no, that's not the problem. The problem is that we were being sold a lie that said being pure is gonna make everything better, and like we're never gonna want to quit touching each other. And it's like that.
And then you're gonna have kids, and mom's gonna be sensory overload, and
Yeah,
she's gonna like flinch when you come near her.
yeah.
Or is that just me? And then I
No,
have to
but
explain,
just
like, and I have to explain that wasn't because you touched me. I swear, I do love you,
yeah,
but like I've had a person on me
yeah,
nonstop for 24 hours, and
yeah,
I'm doing dishes, and now you're groping me.
yeah. It well, it's like I'm just sitting here thinking, like, can I imagine? Like, my son is like, we call him cringe lord. Like, he's 12. He's like
Yeah.
he's cringy. Like, he says stuff sometimes, and I'm like, please don't say that anymore. It's so uncomfortable, and it's not gross. He's just a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like, can I imagine him like hitting on a girl? I mean, he asked 2 weeks ago. He told a girl, like, "You want to be my crush?" And I was like, "You didn't even say it right." Said you want to be my crush. A crush is something you have in secret. You don't
Yeah.
tell him. You don't ask him. And so she dumped him last week. They broke up. Her friends broke up with him, and he was like, "Okay, cool. I already like another girl, anyways." And
I already have another crush. I'm good.
I was like, "Bro, okay. First off, good for you for like not even caring at all." He's like, "She's a cool kid, but like I don't really care." I was sitting here thinking, like, had he been fed all those, like, had we still been in a church that both of us been in a church that's still pouring that kind of stuff out and we're believing it, it's like, what would they end up being? It's like, I
Yeah.
want my husband to be, or my husband, I want my son to be like a strong husband who knows that, like, sex isn't just for him,
Yep.
it's for him and his wife to enjoy equally. And it isn't like a power move, and it isn't a reward, and it isn't
You don't
and
get it because you did the dishes,
yeah,
or
like, and I
because
don't
that's
want my
the other
daughter.
thing that's said. I feel like in, okay, husbands, if maybe she's overwhelmed, so like if you just do the dishes, then like she'll have sex with you. And it's like, yeah, no, I'm not paying for your dishwashing with my vagina. Thank you.
Yeah, well, and we did have a stretch where there was like, it was like we went through reengage, and so
Yeah.
they talked about like selfless love. And so um the pastor who kind of like oversees it through our church was saying, like, doing the dishes is selfless. He's like, doing the dishes isn't like, I did the dishes, now we can have sex. He's like, that's not selfless, that's
No.
selfish.
Yeah.
He's like, intimacy is selfless. Like,
Yep.
if you're doing the dishes, you're doing the dishes. Like,
Yep.
there it is. Like, that's what you're doing. And if she sees it in acts of service as something that
It's
engages her,
working for her. Yeah.
great. He's like,
But if you
but
do it with that intent, and that's
when
the thing.
so we went through a phase where it was like, there was a lot of like, I did this, so you owe me this, and both of us on both ends.
Yeah.
And so it was hard because it is a broken model that
Yeah.
we were set. It was set in front of us where we were
I,
told, like, you do the dishes, or you get up with the baby in the night, and then she won't be so tired, and then you'll get to have sex with her. It's like, no, she's still gonna be tired.
well, it's
You
just,
just
yeah.
were kind enough to
To take care of the child that you helped
your
create.
child. That's
Yeah.
why that's earlier why I said I don't want to have the baby and I don't want to raise the baby. I said making a baby is not like eating brownies. Like, when you make brownies, you want to like lick the batter and eat the brownies. You want to be a part of the whole process.
Yep.
But when I could just see you being a mother. It's like I could see me having sex with you and then you raising my offspring to the way I want you to raise my offspring because
Yep.
that's what I want. It's like that's what's being said. So,
Oh
boys,
yeah.
take note. When you tell a girl that you could see her being a great mother,
Yeah. Are
phone
you
is
gonna be a good father, or are you just gonna be a baby maker? Like,
yeah.
are you just a baby daddy, or are you an actual father?
And those are two different things. So,
Mhm.
um,
No, and it's so hard because like I know, like there's days when like Ian shows up and does the dishes and helps with the kids or whatever, and like it totally does engage me.
yeah,
But it's not every time because there's times I'm like, dude, that's the bare freaking minimum. I don't know, like I don't know what to tell you.
sure. Yeah.
And then I've also used it in the other end of, well, since sex fixes things, because that's what I was told, I effed up. I didn't get the dishes done or whatever to the I know you're satisfactory level.
Mm,
So here, just come lay with me,
yeah.
and then no, maybe you won't get mad.
Yeah. Like
Maybe maybe you won't see that our house is dirty if I spread my legs.
yeah, it's true. Like we had a while back. It hasn't happened in a long time because it caused a huge fight, but we had this like I wanted something, and so I got like hypersexual.
Mhm.
And um Jeff was like, I hate when you do that. He's like, because I want it to be like, yes, I think it was like buying something. And he's like, I just want to say yes to you because it's about the budget, not because we like had sex. He's like, I hate that. I hate that that's something that, and he's like, and I think part of it is that it's like trauma based. And then
Oh, yeah.
also, I was also like wrongly indoctrinated with like this idea that, you know, it's
Mhm.
fixed. And so, um, my phone is like at 9%.
Okay.
So I'm not the kind of person who leaves my phone dying, but when I woke up, it was at 50%, and then it just is like,
No, we've
"Blah."
been on skip for, like, almost 2 hours.
Oh, dang. Okay. Well,
We've been recording for an hour, but we
I
talked for
couldn't
a
tell.
while
Yeah, we
before.
did. I can't see anything because I'm recording differently, or you're recording.
Yeah, recording it. So we should probably wrap up anyway. So things we learned from the church. Sex fixes things. Not that it's a core problem. Not true. Uh, that we're licked Oreos or lollipops.
Yeah. Lust is from your eyeballs, not
Hmm.
your heart.
And it's only sexual.
Yeah. Which
That if we walk a certain way or show our body in a way, and depending on which tradition you come from, it could be anything from a form-fitting t-shirt to,
high heels.
yeah, high heels to like a string bikini. Like it literally, because like you have the traditions that have to have the long denim skirt and the,
Well,
you
like
know,
even the burkas, like we talked about in Qatar, like even that. I mean, we're talking
yeah,
specifically about like the
Christian work.
lowercase b
Yeah.
church. Um, but I mean, even in the Middle Eastern religions, they have that. It is a
Oh,
human condition of like, oh, she walks with her like her ankles are like splayed out. So obviously,
yeah, she's asking for it.
it's like what? No.
No,
So
no.
it's a human
It's a
sexual sin is a human condition. Like
yep,
being like being that way is human nature. It doesn't matter if you're in the church, out of the church,
yep. And
what
what's supposed to be empowering as a believer, and I think this is where it gets misconstrued, is we are believers, and well, you and I are.
yeah.
And we believe that God is a good God and a creator of good things, and that he utilized sex to, one, procreate his creation, but to
Mm,
also bring forth pleasure and joy for his creation. And we have completely missed that and weaponized it
that's a good term. We've weaponized it. Like,
in all of the ways.
yeah.
And so, because of that, we don't know how. to approach it in a healthy manner. And it's like a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
And that's not how God designed it. I remember the first time I told Ian I prayed in the middle of sex so I could continue staying engaged and finish my orgasm. And he's like, that's kind of weird. And I'm like, I understand. It feels strange. And
Yeah.
it's like, but I didn't want to shut down.
Yeah.
And I believe that God created this and he created me for it. And so why not invite him into it?
Yeah. Well, and I think that because it was a like that makes sense because Jeff and I had we had an issue with like this week last thing. Like praying about it or asking like blessings, it's like it's sex.
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
but I'm like, no, he designed it for us. So like when we ask him to like
Show up.
be with us or like help us to actually understand the gift that he's giving us, like that we're not being like weird, creepy people who are like, but we've weaponized the word sex and lust and all this stuff that it's like, oh, don't talk to God about that. That's weird. And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, he actually
wants
cares and wants you to enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think that is a very forgotten truth. He wants us to enjoy it.
Yep. And I don't think I feel like that's one of the things I want to convey to my boys is like it's about you, but it's not about you. Like sex in general.
Yeah, it's for you, but it's not about you.
Yeah.
And it's for her, not about her.
Yeah, and when you both can come to the table like that, it's when magic happens.
Oh yeah, for sure. And there is like, this is gonna be the last thing I say because my child
is about to die.
Yeah. It's. Oh no, I just forgot what I was gonna say.
It's for her, but not about her. It's for you, but not about you.
Oh, and it's like for me, when I've released the shame from not being a virgin when I get married, a lot of like the flashbacks or the guilt kind of melted off, and it's like, yes, my past sin, my past mistakes, my past abuse are a part of who I am, but they are not
Who I am.
longer who I am, and they're not a part of my sexual identity. Like that was a big thing that I wish would have been described to us or conveyed to me more clearly through this whole purity culture thing is that remaining pure has just as much to do with like your mental well-being and safety as it does like your spiritual walk, because there were times when I would be with my husband and be thinking of something that happened in high school, and it's like I don't want to be there, like I don't want to, but part of me will always carry that with me because that's what sex does. It connects you to someone way more intimately than just like being friends or hugging or and emotional too. Like it's a deep connection to that person that you can't just like burn the bridge. It's there. And that's something that was not conveyed very clearly is, you know, there is a connection that you cannot break with that person.
Yep.
When something physical, like with that guy that stuck his tongue down your throat, I'm sure there have been times where Ian kissed you like, oh, whoa, no. And it's like, you didn't do anything wrong. But in that moment, my brain was like, this is all too familiar and this is bad.
Yeah.
Like, there's a connection, a bad connection to that guy, but still, like, it's one of those things where I wish those were things that were conveyed clearly to both male and female. Also, freaking the school sex ed tapes, like, we were told to tell the boys we talked about shopping, and the boys were told to tell us that they talked about sports. Like, it was like, you keep quiet. Don't you dare tell anybody that you're a girl.
Right? Like, don't tell anyone that, like, that's dumb. I was in and out of school so much that I never actually got to participate in those, which kind of made me sad.
Jeff actually said something that blew my mind the other day. He goes, I wish I would have watched the girl video instead of the boy video. And I said, what? Why? He goes, because I don't think it's fair that they put us in these classes and told us about things that were already happening to our bodies when they should have been telling us what was happening to the other sex so that we could understand them. And
Oh
I was
God,
like,
yeah.
dang, dude, that's
Oh,
nuts.
that's why I talk to my boys about like periods and stuff. I'm like, y'all need to know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like,
For sure.
like this is dumb. Like, this is not something we're gonna hide or be ashamed of. And like,
Yeah.
you know,
And it's like, you need to know how to ride the wave because it's a cycle and it comes
yeah,
big waves sometimes.
yeah. And like,
And,
oh God, like, could we maybe teach? I mean, I didn't watch these. I'm like, okay, so if we're talking about sex, like, boys, I feel like have it maybe a little easier to
mhm.
like figure out their own pleasure and to figure out all the things. But like, do we teach like, that sounds really creepy, but like, is there ever a conversation with boys of like, hey, you need to warm her up because if not, it's gonna hurt her.
Yeah, I think there is a point where it's like when you start talking about the anatomy of the opposite sex, there is
Yeah,
like, you, but I think that that's one of those like you start having age appropriate conversations and
yeah,
the things.
because I feel like
For
that's
boys because what I was kind of told, it was like if something enters your body, then it's sex and that's sinful. But boys don't have anything that enters their body unless they're doing it
yeah
anally, and that's
a whole
the,
other thing.
a whole nother conversation. It was like for me that like I didn't.
That's a really good point because like a lot of guys don't hold the same like fear and like value to like penetration as girls do. But we were told like if something enters your body, you're broken. And they don't have that.
No,
That's a really good point, and that's why they
I
can
mean,
go around and make matches on their belt and it
with
not be understood.
yeah. Well, I mean, it took me a very, very long time to get comfortable being able to like be like, and to even tell Jeff like that doesn't feel good.
Right?
I was like, that's gonna crush me, and he's like, no, I want to pleasure you. Like that's the point of this. It's not, and I'm like, oh, well, I don't like that. It's like, okay, well, then I won't do that anymore. And so, just like being able to have those conversations, and we're in our 30s, and so but we had to go through the really, like, awkward, painful phase of, like, "No, this is great. I love this."
This is so fun. Yeah, like, I mean, we're talking 8 solid years on my end before
Um,
I even, like, began to be like, "Hey, I actually don't want that."
I'm not interested in that, thank you, though.
He's like, "I've been doing that for forever," and I'm like, "Yeah, I probably should have said something sooner."
Yeah, well, because then he's like and I imagine I don't know Ian very well, but I imagine from just what we talked about earlier, um, he cares for you,
Yeah,
and, like, it's like my dad said, "The right man, your husband, will respect that." And so it's like, I'm sure that in his mind, he's thinking, "Hey, I've been doing this for 8 years and you didn't like it, and, like, I want to do this with you, not to
yeah,
you." Um,
right, and that's
there is probably its own layer of, like, mm, for him because
yeah,
he didn't grow up in the period culture, he's like, "Sex is to be enjoyed because it feels good."
right, because that's nice.
Yeah, and it is.
Yeah, when
Uh,
it's yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I'm like, I hate the fact that he was inundated at the end with,
mhm,
like, "This is what it's supposed to look like in marriage," and I hate the fact that, like, I had it all the way through, and so, like,
yeah,
there wasn't conversations, and the thing is we are pretty open overall, but I was like, "Well, I'll just repress what I don't like because I want to be a smoothie with you. I
yeah,
want to be blended and one no matter what." And I'm
yeah.
like, "Oh, yeah, that doesn't actually work."
It's not a good way to do things.
So, okay.
I
So we've
think we
talked
could
a lot.
do yeah, I think we could do another one. So if you guys haven't noticed, we've kind of been slowing down the recording because life is nuts for both of us. And we're still recording. We're still gonna do this, obviously. I think we're gonna do 2 a month because these are so long. And they've been really heavy, but we may change that again. So I'm not gonna say like I don't think Lauren is gonna say either. Like, we're a 2 a month podcast every third month. Like, I think
Yeah, no.
we're figuring it out. We're like less than 10 episodes in. I genuinely love doing this with Lauren, so
It's
I would
so
like to
fun.
get where we can do this well. My children they were weird today. They came in like 3 times, and I'm like, well,
It
I
wasn't
guess
that bad.
no, they didn't talk, which was good. But I'm like, I get to now go have some more sex conversations with my kids because I know they heard stuff where they're gonna be like, oh, when I come out, which is fine. It's like I shut the door for a reason, and you walked in, so now you heard something.
Now you heard something, so we get to have conversations.
Yeah, and there's again, I think that's part of the problem that I had. Like, there wasn't a space to have conversation because I didn't know what to ask for because I was just like listening to what they said, and that's what they said, and it's church, and those are the rules.
Yep.
Them's the rules.
I didn't start asking questions until my sister got pregnant when she was a teenager.
Yeah, and so it's like that. It's not our parents' fault. It's not the church's fault. It's a combination of a lot of things that a lot of people thought they were doing right, and it has affected a whole generation of women. I think men also
I
are,
think so.
but I don't know. I can't really speak to men because I'm not one.
Hey, novel.
So I, yeah. Anyways, we're gonna keep doing this. It's just gonna like kind of change. We might release one. We're not gonna have a formula for now because
Nope, we're gonna just continue working towards it, and hopefully we will find our rhythm.
yeah.
And
And I think by the time we find our rhythm, we might get a new one. That's how it was. This was going to. Just kidding. We're gonna try something else.
we got it all figured out. Oh, a major life event just happened, so it's gonna shift again.
Yeah. So I guess like the best way you could stay like in the know or like when things happen is follow us on social media.
Yep.
She Talks a Lot Pod is on Instagram, and then also YouTube. She Talks a Lot Pod, and so just like subscribe or follow, and that will give you like the heads up of like, hey, we're recording today, or hey, we're releasing.
Yep.
That way you kind of know what's happening. That would be and I guess it also helps us as like people know
That
who's
we're doing stuff, and
yeah.
we've enjoyed having people
Yeah,
comment and have conversation, and
yeah,
so
reach
feel
out. I
free
like
to join in. Tell us
yeah,
your purity culture stories.
yeah, it'd be good to hear, what other things are out there because I think we could have more conversations about this.
For
So, well, we love you. My battery's at 3%, so I'm gonna
sure.
jump
Ooh,
off. Love you.
doesn't
Stay
look
awkward,
good.
and we will talk to you later.
All right. And